Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Winter Ag Workshop Series. I'm Cassidy. I'll be your host today. Today, we're joined by Beth Stark, and she'll be talking about beef's role in a nutritious eating pattern from baby and beyond. But first, we have a little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't taken your pre-test, the link is in the chat box. Please do that. Now, your video and audio are off the entire session, so there is a chat box. If you want something to go to everyone, change the little drop down to say everyone. Otherwise, only the hosts can see it. There's also a Q&A box. If you have questions, we'll have lots of time for questions and everything during. And everything is visible. It's being recorded, so please be courteous and respectful. With that, let's turn it over to Beth.
Well, thank you, Cassidy. And I'm just so thrilled to be here today. Again, my name is Beth Stark. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist with the PA Beef Council. Really excited to engage with this group. It's a new group for me as I'm pretty new in this role as a dietitian with the PA Beef Council. Just started in June after coming from a history of working with a retailer based in Pennsylvania. And so now working on behalf of beef farmers and ranchers has just opened up my eyes to a whole new world of nutrition and ways to engage and reach individuals with really great messaging about beef. So again, thank you so much for Cassidy's introduction and for inviting me to present to you all today. Just to cover some learning objectives real quickly. So after today's presentation, participants will be able to understand the role of beef at various life stages and really look to beef as a high quality source of protein for common health conditions. Identify basic culinary techniques to incorporate lean beef into everyday meals. So this webinar today is part presentation like this, and then I'll actually switch gears and do a live cooking demo. Some of you may be cooking along with me, some of you may not. I know it's still kind of pre-dinner hour. But I will be sharing a really great family-friendly, easy recipe with you all. And then I'll also showcase a number of our credible resources related to beef nutrition, beef's role in the diet, myth busting, and food safety at pabeef.org. So you'll be able to identify where those credible resources are located easily at your fingertips on our website. So I mentioned I just recently started, not recently anymore, back in June with the PA Beef Council. You can see some of my history there, Penn State grad, so I don't know if any other Penn Staters are here on the call, but I definitely am a proud alumni. But my professional path has included a lot of different kind of touch points, I guess, as a dietitian, where I started very traditionally in the clinical setting, worked up to an outpatient setting where I did work in a weight management center. When I came to Pennsylvania, when I came back actually home here to Selinsgrove in Pennsylvania from Allentown area, that's when I took on the role with Wise Market. Some of you may be familiar with that retailer. There's probably one very close to you where you live and maybe where you shop, where I worked for almost 13 years and then left that position almost a year ago, which is just wild how quickly time flies. And I'm now so blessed to be working with the PA Beef Council. My role is dual with the PA Beef Council and the Northeast Beef Promotion Initiative, which is a contractor to the Beef Checkoff. So programming is all very similar, but PA is obviously based within PA. Northeast covers Maine to Virginia territory. So I'm doing a lot more traveling as far as that goes. And I do also work kind of as a consultant with my own business where I do recipe development, programming, webinars and things like this. And I write articles and do some media work. So who is the PA Beef Council? We are a nonprofit organization working on behalf of nearly 18,000 beef, dairy, and veal producers within the Commonwealth, funded by the Beef Checkoff, which I mentioned. This is a program that's focused on maintaining and building strong demand for beef within our state. Every time a beef animal is sold, this is kind of where the funding is coming for the Checkoff. Every time a beef animal is sold, $1 of that sale is collected to fund the education, promotion, consumer research, and recipe and product development, again, to build beef demand and showcase it as a lean, priority protein for individuals within our Commonwealth. And our mission is to work on behalf of farmers, building beef and veal demand with consumers of all ages, which ties in really nicely with today's presentation topic. So if you're kind of wondering, so what's the role of a dietitian with agriculture? I just wanted to quickly touch on this slide because I think it's a good just kind of a good reminder, I guess, of why I'm here as a dietitian, working with the Beef Council, and how dietitian opportunities within agriculture have really just kind of expanded and evolved over time. I mean, when I came out of school, I never would have imagined working in a role like I am now. But now there's dietitians that work within agriculture all over the place, and a lot of different, in a lot of different commodities, of course, but even a lot of different ways. So me, obviously, being as a dietitian, working with marketing efforts, and then healthcare outreach. So engaging with registered dietitians, healthcare professionals, dietitians that are kind of in training, if you will, so dietetic interns, just really helping to share that positive beef messaging, provide the latest research, and just make sure that individuals know where to find credible resources. So as you can see here, really the role is to be a sound and trusted voice of sound science, again, providing that latest research. So there's research being done all the time in nutrition, and really as it pertains to beef and how beef kind of plays in a heart healthy diet, beef's role in a Mediterranean style diet, and so on and so forth. So for the dietitian, my role is to communicate this out because the farmers and the producers, the ranchers, they are not communicating that out. That's we're looking to a dietitian to do those types of communications. Helping to prevent fear. We know that just people in general are really concerned with where their food is coming from, how animals are being treated, and how they're being raised. So again, being that trusted voice and being a sounding board for individuals that may want to talk through those fears and understand a little bit more about the process when it comes to where the food is coming from and how it's processed and raised and ultimately ends up on their plate. Helping to correct myths, and again, really sharing incredible resources. So as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, we have a bounty of great resources on our website. Of course, I have access to a number of additional resources. So if there's a specific topic that really weighs on you and you want to learn more about, I can be that resource for you to, again, provide the information to you so you can ultimately make your own personal decision about what food choices you make for yourself and your family. Showcase that our food is very well regulated in the US, help consumers become confident in their food choices when shopping. As a mom, I feel like I feel guilt a lot of different times when I make a specific food choice for my family, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this as the mother of the household and really the one that's driving what my family eats. So really helping to arm consumers, whether it's the mom of the household, the dad, or another adult in the household, just so you can feel confident about the choices you're making for your family when you're shopping and preparing meals for your family. And just really serving as, again, a voice that shares that there are healthy choices for everyone, and there's no one size fits all when it comes to eating and, eating well. Okay. So just a little bit more about my specific role with the Beef Council. Doing presentations like today is, one great example. Doing a cooking demo like this presentation will also entail in a short moment here, or short few moments, I should say. Doing media segments. So you can see that segment there in the bottom where I have probably the same shirt on. I'm there on Good Day PA in Harrisburg, which I'm also preparing to appear on this Friday for that matter. But there, that gentleman is Duff George. He is a PA producer that's based in Carlisle. So I invited him to come on live TV with me to talk a little bit about his family farm and the legacy, and just ultimately how the animals are raised on his farm, and the priority of safety, and just ultimate animal care for the best nutritious product, for consumers. So that was fabulous. That was right before Christmas, and just something that was very unique. The first time a producer had really come on a TV segment with some member of the PA Beef Council like this. So that was a blast. We did some cooking, did some eating, and it was really fun. We do conferences. As I mentioned, I really engaged regularly with not only dietitians, but family physicians, which are a huge opportunity audience within the state. So I do some work with the PA Academy of Family Physicians groups. We're working also with osteopathic physician groups, exploring opportunities with diabetes educators. So there's a lot of educators ultimately that are sharing on nutrition information to their clients, to their patients beyond dietitians. So my role is really to provide those individuals and those health experts with the right tools and just, again, the latest science so they can communicate that on safely and comfortably to those patients and clients they're talking to. I'm sharing resources and research, as I mentioned, and PA Team Beef, which I just wanted to plug this here. I don't know if we have any any avid athletes here, or even just kind of like the casual exerciser, but we are still recruiting for PA Team Beef for this year, which is just a really fun opportunity to get reimbursed for activities that you're doing and representing PA Team Beef. So you would be provided with a t-shirt, some fun swag, and you get reimbursed for up to $100 of races over the course of the year. So definitely I have some information later on in the slides, but I wanted to mention that I oversee that this year and would love if maybe someone from this webinar here would join us for the current year. So I wanted to test everyone's knowledge. So here you will get a chance to drop some commentary in the chat for a moment. So if anyone can name a key nutrient that's provided by beef in the chat, you have a chance to win. I'm going to give away some beef swag. I'll grab your mailing address later on and I'll get some goodies out to you. But name one key nutrient that's not protein, because the protein's an obvious one, right? That's provided by beef. So maybe drop a couple ideas in there, and then Cassidy, maybe you can filter a couple to me, and then I'll go on to the next slide where I really dig into the nutrition part.
So far we have iron, B12.
B12? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do we have any other, and did anyone else take a guess?
Zinc.
Zinc?
Another zinc.
All right,
Selenium.
awesome. Well, thank you. Selenium, yeah, someone's definitely been either listening to some of our messaging or maybe checking out the website, or maybe you've like learned a little bit about beef nutrition before, but I know there has been no wrong answer so far, so that's awesome. So I'll flip to the next slide here. So I'll definitely grab some of those mailing addresses later, or Cassidy, if you're able to do that, and we'll get some fun swag out to you in the next couple of weeks. But so yeah, here you'll see here on this slide showcased beef's top 10. So beef really gives you the nutrients that your body needs to just fuel you to do all the activities that you love and keep you feeling well. So here this image depicts some really great examples of the percent daily value of the top 10 nutrients provided by beef. So I know this is a little bit of an eye chart, if you will, but I wanted to just showcase again how the nutrients come together. And this is a great graphic that we do have available. If anyone would have interest, I'm happy to send this to you so you can print it. But here you can see, obviously, protein is one of the top percent daily values. And what percent daily value means is that based on like a 2,000 calorie diet, which is kind of a general recommendation, we know that doesn't apply to everyone. This is kind of the percentage that of the specific nutrient that would be that would make up. I'm sorry, the beef would make up a percentage of that nutrient in a 2,000 calorie diet. So for example, protein, the 25 grams of protein that you get from a 3-ounce serving of beef is reaching about 51% of your total daily needs for protein. You see here, protein, we know, obviously it provides muscle repletion. It prevents and repairs damaged muscles and tissue within your body. We know it provides strength and so on and so forth. So protein is a very vital nutrient. It's one of those macronutrients like carbohydrates and fat that our bodies need to consume in order to really thrive. So a few others to call out specifically if you're like, what does B6 really do? And what's the relevance for B12? So both of these B vitamins play a role in brain function and energy production within the body. So they are responsible for helping to kind of break down some of those nutrients as you take them in, and those macronutrients, and then turn them into energy production throughout your body. Zinc. So zinc is one I feel like everyone knows what zinc is these days because it's connected to immunity. So I feel like vitamin C and zinc are really having their day in the spotlight, right? So zinc is very relevant for immune function. Zinc is one of those nutrients too that's primarily in animal products. So, beef and then other sources of protein is where you would be getting that nutrient from. Selenium, which that one I feel like is a little bit more obscure. So kudos to the individual that got that one right. This one is protecting your cells from damage that is kind of caused by just a lot of environmental factors. Damage is just happening kind of to your cells all the time because of the natural processes of your body. So selenium helps to protect your cells from outward damage, again, like environmental factors and different things like that. Phosphorus is important for healthy and strong bones and teeth. Choline is important for nervous system development. So I'll get to choline in a few slides, but how it's very much related to the growth of fetal development and then infant and toddler development. And then iron. So iron is a nutrient that a lot of folks generally don't have a hard time with, but at different stages of your life, you have elevated needs for iron, especially women. So this is very important for the effective and efficient use of oxygen delivery to cells throughout the body. And I mentioned the 25 grams of protein that we'll go into in just a minute as well. And so that 3-ounce portion, and again, that's what all of the different nutrients here kind of relate back to. And we're talking about lean beef primarily throughout this presentation, but just to call that out there. Okay, so here, a little bit more about the protein piece. So a 3-ounce portion of lean beef not only supplies, all of these top 10 nutrients, like I mentioned, it is providing 25 grams of protein. So according to the dietary guidelines for Americans, women need about 46 grams of protein per day and men need about 56 grams. So again, this is kind of related to where you are in terms of age, gender, your activity level, health status, for example. So some individuals may need quite a bit more protein and some might need less based on whatever health status you might have. So if you have, kind of kidney function challenges, you probably wouldn't be eating as much protein as the average individual. You might need more or less depending on where you are with that condition. So just to kind of, I think people always want to know, how much protein should I be eating and what does that really look like? So I think this is a really great example. I love infographics like this. So sometimes you hear about plant-based proteins and, other sources of protein. And when you really look at this example, you see where beef falls in terms of the amount of calories for 25 grams of protein, the amount of food you'd have to eat to get that 25 grams of protein in comparison to other plant-based sources. Now, certainly as a dietitian, I'm not going to speak against plant-based protein because I think there's certainly a place for it in our diet, but again, I think it's a great example to showcase, individuals that might be looking for more plant-based proteins in their diet, really need to look at the big picture when it comes to cutting out different types of very healthful, nutritious, high quality animal-based protein sources. So you see here, 6.5 tablespoons of peanut butter is a heck of a lot of peanut butter. I mean, how would you even use all of that? That would be one really, really thick peanut butter smoothie is what I'm thinking. Or even 3 cups of quinoa. That's a lot of food for that, again, 25 grams of protein that you can easily get within 3 ounces of meat. Of beef specifically. So some protein fast facts too. So individuals that eat a higher protein diet will tend to feel more satisfied, which may help to prevent overeating. So as a dietitian, we always talk about eating a balanced kind of meal. So what does that look like? It might include some whole grains, some kind of lean protein. So again, lean beef, for example, and then some fruits and or vegetables. So that's kind of a really good balance. You got fiber, you have fat, you have protein. It kind of brings it all together and it helps to make your digestion process slow. So you really feel full in that moment, but then you ultimately feel fuller longer because your body takes so long to break those foods down. And again, you get a lot of nutrition out of that combination of foods. So where I'm going with this is, has anyone ever eaten maybe just a bagel for breakfast, a bagel with butter for breakfast? Not there's a problem with that, but how do you feel differently if you might eat a little bit more protein at your breakfast, maybe with that bagel or with a slice of toast? Eating that protein in conjunction with other foods really does help to promote satiety. Again, ultimately may prevent overeating and just help to promote weight maintenance over time as well. So protein helps support strong, lean bodies. Eating at least 4 ounces of high quality protein from foods like beef at each meal provides your body with energy to lead an active lifestyle. And protein can help cut the fat. So this is some research I'm going to call out here. Research has shown that exercise is more effective for weight management when paired with a higher protein diet. Typically athletes or just, again, people that are exercising more tend to eat more protein just to help replenish and repair those muscles after exercise. So this is also saying that can help you reduce overall fat mass within your body and promote weight management and then the building of lean body mass, which is that muscle mass. And then, again, just kind of referring back to this slide here. So let's look at beef nutrition for the life cycle. Now, I feel like this is a great transition slide. I just love the example of you see the baby there on the left, or probably on the left on your slides there. And then all the way through the life cycle to the older gentleman there, all the way on the right. So if your first thought was, wait, babies and beef, I don't understand this. And where is she going with this? I'm happy to hear that because I really want to open your eyes to some really great research that's just, recently come out related to beef and its role in a toddler's kind of first foods diet. Okay. So any of you potentially that may have infants at home right now, or again, if you are a grandparent, or you even have children that are older, but again, thinking of that notion of introducing among one of those first foods, beef being one of those first foods to your 6-month-old potentially. My daughter's now 5.5. So it's been a while since we did the first foods introduction, but even it has me wondering like, wow, what would have that been like introducing such a, kind of an atypical, if you will, or a food I wouldn't have expected, an unexpected food to her at such a young age. But there's a lot of really great research that showcases that the first 100 days of life are really just so critical in what you're starting to build as that toddler, that baby, that toddler's short and long-term health and developmental outcomes. So the foods that you're introducing to your child at this time, not only are they helping to shape the taste preferences, the food choices, but they're really impacting the overall child's ability to grow, learn, and thrive throughout life. So, if you ever think, oh, my child is more of a picky eater, or you've been a picky eater or selective eater through adulthood, a lot of that is rooted back to when you were first introduced to foods and how it trickles out into your life cycle later on as you age and maybe don't explore new foods and textures and things like that. So we know it's 6 months, children are at that point that maybe they're transitioning away from breast milk, or maybe they're still using breast milk as a primary source of nutrition that or formula, but they're starting to add complementary foods into the diet to get more nutrition. So again, within this first 1,000 days, which is about, again, that 6 months of life, I think 1,000 days just has a really nice ring to it, doesn't it? This is when you might be like thinking of different foods that you would be introducing to your toddler. So some of those ideal first foods really based on iron content would include cereal, iron fortified cereal, beans, for texture purposes like avocado, carrot, sweet potato, pasta, yogurt. So these are all very nutrient rich foods. Not all of them though are providing a really great source of iron, choline, and zinc like beef would be. So the latest dietary guidelines, which I feel like they came out 2 years ago now, and this was just really great kind of revelation where they first actually introduced recommendations for this age group, which was never done before. They really started to talk about at 6 months of age, this is when it's appropriate to start introducing solid foods as kind of part of baby-led weaning, where you're really letting your toddler guide the solid food choices that they're able to make. You present them to that child, and then they can kind of almost make it work for them. They kind of take it from there, take the lead based on like their current level of development and their ability to pick the food up and so on and so forth. But so it's the recommendations now are including solid foods like beef at this stage can be really critical in optimizing the nutrition, not only from the iron, zinc, and choline, but also from protein. So you see some of those nutrients called out here. So protein, of course, I mean, it's a given. This is important for the physical growth and development of that 6-month plus old child. Iron for growth, the nervous system development, and immune function. Zinc for growth, brain development, and immunity. Choline for growth and brain activity. Vitamins B6 and B12 again for brain health and then development of healthy blood cells. So here, I think this next slide will really kind of give you more insight on, okay, how does this actually happen in the kitchen and at the family table? So here's some really great examples of where you're going to start. So are you giving your 6-month-old maybe a not so tender cut of beef that they probably won't be able to chew? No, that's not the goal. Obviously, we know choking is a huge fear of parents, especially at this stage, especially if this is your first child. So we really want to be very cognizant of textures. So here are some really great depictions of what those textures look like at various stages. So at 6 months, the child, 6 to 8 months, I should say, the child is ready to kind of transition from watery purees to single ingredient foods, such as pureed beef. So you see that picture there, pureed squash or pureed pears, maybe even some combination of those foods there. 6 to 8 months in this stage, this is when the baby would be able to transition to like more lumpy textured foods. And again, pureed beef, pureed green beans, and then softer dissolvable types of finger foods. At 8 months, here is when you're starting to get a little bit more texture into the beef that you're presenting to your child. So you're able to provide them with chopped table foods like shredded, really shredded or soft cooked beef, some well-cooked pasta, chopped cooked vegetables or soft cooked beans. And then up to 1 year, 10 months to 1 year, this is when they'll start to transition further into, again, more chopped family food and be able to do some self-feeding. So here again, this is all dependent upon where your child is in the stage of of being able to have head control. They're able to sit up on their own, how their mouths are able to manipulate food, and some of the kind of ability of that mouth feel. So these are all things, of course, like you as a parent have to make that decision to transition your child to these foods, but there are a ton of really great resources within pabeef.org and elsewhere that really would guide a parent to making this choice and starting to incorporate foods into their child's diet as such. Now, as you transition away from that, like 12-month-old and beyond, you know, I didn't want to go into every single life stage you saw in that little graphic there. We'd probably be here all evening, and I missed the cooking demo. But so I think it's important then to transition on to older children and teens. Again, just knowing the importance of good nutrition at this age, and really just starting to foster familiarity with different types of foods, and getting them comfortable with experimenting with different flavors and textures, and even learning to cook. So these key nutrients provided from beef, again, for optimal growth and development. You see these examples there. So this is really when at a child, you know, the blood volume is expanding rapidly based on the rapid growth of these aged children are kind of experiencing. And even though there's an abundance of iron-rich foods within the US, it's, you know, even that in fortified foods, there still is a little bit of kind of an opportunity for children of this age to eat more, especially, again, teenage girls, as their bodies are kind of maturing and changing. There they may have increased iron needs, which at this age is actually when a lot of teenagers may start to eat less beef for one reason or the other. So it's just an opportunity to educate and provide them with guidance and help them understand what the food does in terms of growth and nutrition and how they feel, how it may fuel physical activity or their sports, and really frame it on I think kind of like those types of things that will resonate with this age group. You know, if you say it's good for you, it's healthy, you should just do this, that doesn't really click with this age group. So trying to apply this to like them thriving in the academic setting or on the soccer field is definitely something that would be probably more impactful, if you will. Lean beef is definitely also a vehicle for other nutritious foods like whole grains, fruits and veggies, dairy foods. And I'll show that actually really well within the recipe that I'll be preparing in just a few minutes here. And also helps to foster a healthy palate. There's a lot of different cuts of beef. There's a lot of different ways you can flavor them, and, you know, overall expanding the child's palate at the stage can really be very important. And then you're really building these healthy habits that will maybe carry it on into adulthood. Okay, so then for older adults, and how does this apply to this age stage? You know, for individuals that are of childbearing age, you know, having enough iron and having enough choline, again, we know how important that is for pregnancy and then into the early postpartum stages. You know, again, beef is really one of those key, very nutrient dense and very kind of approachable foods to ensure you're getting enough of those key nutrients. February is American Heart Month. So being that it is, I always feel like it's important to just mention, you know, a little bit about beef and how it kind of plays in an overall heart healthy diet. So contrary to popular belief, there's a large body of research that shows how eating lean beef as part of a heart healthy eating pattern can really help to maintain normal cholesterol levels. So that's when you're eating lean beef in conjunction with, again, those fruits, those vegetables, those whole grains, those healthy oils, the nuts, the seeds, the beans, all of those things. And there's some really great value and benefit to doing so for normalization of cholesterol levels. There's also 20 studies that support including lean beef in a heart healthy diet and lifestyle. So the science speaks, I think, volumes, and it is something you can easily incorporate within a heart healthy diet. And again, I think it's just important to note, we're not talking about the greasy fast food cheeseburger that's on kind of like a white roll with mayonnaise slathered on it, a slice of cheese. We're again talking about that lean cut of beef that has been, you know, broiled or grilled or poached and is served again alongside some very nutritious ingredients. Of course, you know, as we age, we sadly do lose lean body mass and start to kind of like overall lose strength, but the protein from beef is able to help retain that and provide just an overall better longevity and quality of life in individuals as you continue on in aging, and you help to retain some of that lean body mass. So that usually starts to progress after age 50 is where you start to notice potentially a decrease in overall lean body mass and so on and so forth, and muscle loss. Okay. So in terms of lean beef, now what does lean actually mean? Here you see some really great examples of the kind of the description. So lean and what you're going to be looking for in the supermarket meat case. So the overall definition is that it would have less than 4.5 grams of saturated fat, less than 10 grams of total fat. So this is in comparison to other types of lean or other types of beef cuts. This is kind of how you were having less total fat, less saturated fat for this to be meeting the USDA definition for lean. I think surprisingly, there are 36 cuts of lean beef. I'm sure some of you might be like, wow, I wouldn't have guessed that. And so when you're looking for those cuts in the supermarket case, I know I personally still always feel overwhelmed when I look at all the different offerings within those meat cases. But some really good rules of thumb to look for would include looking for beef cuts that have the word loin or round in the cut name. So for example, strip loin, sirloin, top round, bottom round. Those are just some really easy kind of keywords that may trigger your memory and say, oh, this is a good cut. And then further, for ground beef, you're going to be looking for at least 90% lean or leaner. So 90%, 93%, 96%, 92%. There's kind of a different, depending on where you shop, there's a lot of those opportunities for lean beef in the majority of major retailers, that you're shopping in. And the good news is that many Americans' favorite cuts are lean, such as the tenderloin, strip steak, and 93% lean ground beef. And this is really just something I think that's interesting is that over time, people have demanded more lean beef. People want to eat beef as part of a heart healthy diet. So the cattle industry has really responded to this by providing leaner products over the years through improved genetics, feeding, and trimming practices. So it's just kind of amazing the evolution that beef has made over time, and where we're going in the future just to reach that consumer demand for a leaner, healthier product. So here, just to kind of draw attention to our website real quickly, this is just on our website, pabeef.org. You have an opportunity to select kind of a cut selection. So you're looking for lean cuts here. And I just love the visual examples where you're able to see kind of examples that don't include round or loin per se, but the tri-tip roast as a lean cut, the strip steak as a lean cut, a flank steak. So these are just, it's kind of a good collection again, where you can look if you're looking for other examples, or maybe you want to print this and take it to the store, whatever you find helpful, but there's some really great information here, as well as then just some nutrition information too. The other thing I really like is if you look here, hopefully you can see it clearly, some of those little kind of like cookery images, those are all providing recommendations for the best type of cooking technique for these specific cuts. So we know lean does have less fat, so it doesn't have the same ability to be cooked in the same way that like a, let's see, like a ribeye might, it may dry out. You don't want to have an kind of a less than ideal beef eating experience. So knowing how to cook a lean cut of beef is really crucial so that you keep enjoying it and it's something you can put into your diet on a regular basis. So there you see the key, if you will, is at the bottom of that page there. And then I think this is just kind of a common question that we get. I was at the PA Farm Show a number of weeks ago, and we had some resources actually on grain finished versus grass finished versus certified organic versus naturally raised. And that was something that was a very popular topic of conversation. So here I have another kind of a quick, I want someone to answer maybe a true or false. So in the chat, maybe drop your answer, and again, we'll grab your mailing address. But so true or false, are all grass, so let me reframe. True or false, all cows are grass-fed beef? So if anyone wants to kind of like chime in, maybe we'll take the first answer that's right. We can grab your mailing address and send you some fun beef swag. Okay, so I see someone answered. It looks like I can see just a number that popped up into the chat.
We have 2 yeses, a false.
Okay, so whoever that first yes was, you've got it right. And I actually tricked my husband with this one today as I was preparing for this. I said, so true or false, are all cows grass-fed beef? And he said, well, no, but the answer is yes. So as you can see, and again, I know this slide has a lot of information on here, but grain finished is likely the way that you're purchasing beef in the supermarket or any, again, retailer that you're shopping in the majority of time. So in this example, cattle are kind of, the majority of their life is spent eating grass or foraging. The final 4 to 6 months prior to harvest is when they're in a feed yard, and that's when they're then eating grain. So that's where the grain finished piece comes in. But ultimately, yes, they are eating grass up to that stage. So they are grass fed. Grass finished or grass fed simply means they're eating grass their entire life, and they may also forage on grass, hay, or other types of foods at a feed yard, but ultimately their primary source of nutrition is grass. Certified organic, I feel like people know what organic is at this point, but that would just simply mean that there are no antibiotics or growth promoting hormones provided to the beef, and then it meets the very strict organic guidelines to bear that organic seal. And then naturally raised, I think the word natural, as we know, it's not regulated, so you just have to be very careful when you're buying beef that's called natural, or really any product for that matter that's called natural, because it can really just be a claim that's placed on a product that has no natural qualities, if you will. So in this case, it's just saying that the beef would never have received any antibiotics or growth promoting hormones, and may be either green or grass finished, and it may have spent time on a feed yard. So I feel like it doesn't really even give any information that's valuable if you're the consumer seeing that on a package. I think another thing that's really great to note here is this, again, I just got back from a conference in Houston, for that matter. It was a beef conference, and we're learning some of the latest and greatest and some things, and just where consumers really are in terms of information. And one thing that they're really kind of talking about and people want to know more about is the sustainability piece. And I'm certainly not an expert on sustainability, and I don't promise to be, but I think it's just a really cool thing to think about in terms of cows being natural, sustainable upcyclers. So what on earth does that mean? But so cows are grazing on soil that's unsuitable for planting crops. You know, it's really rocky, or it's arid, or it's steep. And then they're churning out that product, you know, over time, and they're then transforming, you know, the animal is transforming into a very nutrient-rich source of protein that can feed, you know, individuals across the US and beyond. So they're eating things that are also indigestible to humans. So they might be turning something like you know, just food scraps, or, you know, other things that we can't eat that would end up in a landfill. They're turning that product, or that kind of like trash, if you will, or just unedible product to humans. I shouldn't say trash, unedible product to humans, into a source of nutrition for humans. So I think when you think about that cycle, and again, there's some really great information I'm happy to share later on, you know, that just kind of speaks more to sustainability. And then in terms of the grass-fed versus grain versus grass finished, I know this is, again, a very hot topic, but I think when you really look at the difference, I think people think there's a major difference, and specifically omega-3 composition between the two. But you can see, like, yes, it's doubled, if you will, from grain to grass finished, but that's 1%. So it's a pretty small percentage overall when you look at it. So, but when they're compared side by side like this, I think in general, you can see the nutrition and difference is pretty insignificant. Okay. Let's see, what else do I want to just know quickly on sustainability, and then we'll cut to the cooking demo. I don't think I really have any more to add here, but here's just, I think, some great example. And again, I'm happy to share this resource with others, like after this this webinar today. But just some different like key points related to beef sustainability, and how beef really does contribute to a healthy, sustainable eating pattern. Okay, and now just to get back to the dietitian spiel a little bit related to healthy shopping and cooking tips. So as I mentioned, you know, across the board, you want to be looking for lean cuts of meat, lean cuts of beef, especially for that loin or round cut, or 90% lean or leaner when it comes to ground beef. Trim visible fat and drain, you know, drain fat from ground beef when you're cooking it. If it's a higher fat beef, especially broil, roast, grill, or poach beef as a way to, again, like use a lower fat cooking method. Pairing beef with fiber-rich vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. I feel like I shared that pretty clearly. And swapping lean cuts in for higher fat cuts whenever that's possible. And then here you see some really great recipe inspiration from some collections on our website, speaking to heart health, Mediterranean style diet, which I could do a whole presentation on that topic alone. Well-balanced meals, which really does kind of bring beef together with that whole grain, fruit, vegetable kind of combination. And then again, a collection that are all built around lean cuts of beef. So here I'm going to transition to our recipe. I can probably take a minute or two, Cassidy, if there's any questions or comments.
Yeah, we have a couple as you're switching over. So one is, why is demand for beef being promoted? And they say they promote a mostly plant-based diet.
So the question was why, just again, it says as a nutritious, nutrient dense source of protein, that can help individuals reach nutrient needs they may not necessarily be able to from other foods. That's kind of really what the goal of the PA Beef Council is. And plant-based diets, again, they are maybe right for some individuals, but we know the majority of Americans are eating beef and, other types of animal protein. So really just arming them with the information that if they're going to choose beef, lean beef is really the preferred choice, that does have lower fat, and again, pairing it with those nutritious ingredients.
Great. And then I think this is in addition to, besides protein, is beef generally higher in these nutrients than other foods? So,
Like, compared to other sources of protein. I mean, I think again, the protein comparison, this is usually in general, protein has about 1 gram, or I'm sorry, animal, like chicken, for example, or pork, it's about 1 gram of protein per ounce. No, I'm sorry, 1 gram of 7 grams of protein per ounce. So they are pretty comparable, but other nutrients are specific to beef. So it is higher in iron and higher in some of these other nutrients. But again, really, as a dietitian, I like to recommend varying your protein, which is again, really what the My Plate tool recommends, the dietary guidelines recommend. So that means to include a variety of different types of protein. So including plant-based protein, including lean beef, including lean poultry, including lean pork and seafood as well. So there's kind of a good mix there that you really then do optimize your nutrition from a variety of different foods versus eating only the same types of things all the time.
great. That's all we have for now.
Okay, well, I am going to, we're gonna get cooking here. This recipe actually does take less than 30 minutes, so I'll probably be able to get the majority of it here quickly prepared. So it's a recipe that I've actually prepared for my family a number of times. It's a ground beef and skillet pasta primavera. Why I love this recipe is it's a one-pot meal, so everything cooks within one large skillet, including the pasta. It combines lean beef with whole grains and vegetables. It's very family friendly. It's pretty quick to prepare. It's very easy to modify. So if you don't have specific ingredients with the recipe are calling for, there's a lot of variation that you can kind of incorporate based on what you have easily at your fingertips. So I'm going to just like flip over to my phone, which is going to help capture the demo. So I'm going to just take a moment here to turn this video off, and we will resume with this demo in just a minute. Okay. Can you hear me, Cassidy?
You can't hear me. I'm sorry, I was muted. I muted your computer. Could you unmute your phone? It was echoing.
Okay, let me just do that.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so you can hear me and see me. Okay, awesome. So welcome to what is not really my real kitchen. This is my pseudo kitchen where I have done now a number of media segments and so forth. Where kind of convert an area in my family room downstairs to make do. So let me just here adjust the camera phone. I'm gonna then actually turn this down so you can see what I'm doing here in front of me in just a second. But behind me, I want to grab all the ingredients. So again, we're doing the beef skillet primavera recipe. Everything is cooking in this large skillet. Actually, I will turn my camera down here and get resituated. Okay. All right, so that actually works better than I was expecting here. So what we have here in this skillet, I'm going to be cooking here on this little stovetop skillet, if you will. Hopefully it gets warm really quickly. But we're using a larger deep skillet because, again, everything is cooking right in here. So we have the 93% lean ground beef that we've started out with. This is 1 pound, and then I'm actually going to just be cooking this in the skillet for about 8 minutes or so, give or take. I'm going to probably cover it to help expedite this a little bit until it reaches at least 160 degrees. So that's going to just take a second. It is warming up, but this is definitely kind of a large skillet. Some of the other ingredients that are in the recipe, just space a little. We're using some beef broth. So we have a lower sodium beef broth. You could use a beef stock if you like. There you go. So that adds a little bit more flavor for sure than the water does. This is a can of diced, no salt added tomatoes. And then we have some chopped up zucchini that you can see here. So this is the primary vegetable within this recipe in addition to the tomatoes. And this is what I was talking about, that, you know, zucchini isn't necessarily in season right now, but you can easily find it in the supermarket. So if you want to use something that's a little bit more seasonal, or maybe a vegetable you have in your home, you could use peppers, you could use, I think you could probably use green beans in lieu of the zucchini. You could use mushrooms. There's a lot of variation you could easily make with this recipe. And maybe it's a good way to introduce new foods to your family. Get those youngsters to explore different textures and flavors as well. And by pairing it with something that's familiar, you know, as in the pasta, usually kids are a little bit more receptive to trying new foods in that case, because it's a familiar food that they're then trying in conjunction with the newer food. All right, so this is not really doing too much here. All right, so I'm just going to break it up. It's starting to heat up. So this is actually one of the tools that anyone that was able to answer one of those questions will get. It's kind of like a mix and chop tool. Maybe some of you have seen these things before. This one I've had for a number of years, but it's a really easy way to cook up ground beef, so you can crumble it and kind of increase the surface area against the skillet so that it cooks a little bit faster, which I'm all about. All right, and as I mentioned, so this recipe is a Heart Check certified recipe. So this one then, in addition to, there's 19 or I'm sorry, there's 20 total recipes on our website that are the Heart Health, should probably flip this back up as I'm talking for a second, that have the Heart Health certification check. So that just means that it meets very specific parameters for overall sodium, for saturated fat, for cholesterol, for fiber, and so on and so forth. So this does meet that recommendation. Again, there's some really appetizer recipes that do on that website. Again, pabeef.org under recipes, and then as well as some other you know, there's appetizers or soups, there's skillet dishes like this. There's a really good variety too. And then kind of speaking of heart health, I mentioned just really quickly, and while this is taking a second, I can touch on the Mediterranean style diet. So this is one that, you know, we love to talk about as dietitians because it's always ranked, or the last 5 years, I should say, it's been ranked as the top diet by US News and World Report. So that's something that a number of health experts across the country and elsewhere really do weigh in and look at diet recommendations and evaluate them. So Mediterranean diet is one that's, again, it's based on, you know, a lot of plant-based foods, seafood, healthy oils, nuts, and, you know, different types of cooking techniques, but lean beef is part of that as well. So again, if you're including any kind of animal protein within that diet, which it is not a vegetarian diet, you know, lean beef is a really great choice. We have a number of different Mediterranean style recipes collection on our website too. So if you like that eating style, or you'd like to use more kind of like of that type of cuisine at home, that's a really good resource, I should say. And Cassie, you are welcome to filter questions as the beef is starting to slowly brown here. If there's any other questions or comments, and if there aren't questions specific to today's presentation, you know, specific to any kind of like other nutrition topics or cooking or meal planning or shopping, I'm definitely happy to address those as well.
Yes, feel free to drop your questions in the chat or Q&A box. And I'm just also going to point out that tomorrow you all will get an email, and that will have a link to um, Beth's PowerPoint and some other resources.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, I think if you were able, or if the individuals that kind of like won those prizes, maybe the first like 3 individuals or so, and then I think whoever was able to guess the true or false questions, so maybe 4 total individuals that would have gotten. If you want to grab those mailing addresses or share them personally in the chat to Cassidy, that would be awesome. And I can get some goodies if you would like. So we'd probably be sending an apron, maybe some, again, this cool little, the chop and mix tool, and some other good swag. And I think I saw a question pop up there related to some of my favorite recipes from Beef It's What's for Dinner website, or again, pabeef.org. They kind of all connect to Beef It's What's for Dinner. As I mentioned, this one is definitely one of my go-tos. There are a couple different stir fry recipes that I love a lot. There's it's like a sweet and sloppy Joe recipe, and that may not be the exact name, but that one again uses the lean ground beef, and it uses bell peppers, and it's just like a homemade sloppy Joe sauce. So you're not using it from a can, or you're not using ketchup actually in it, which is kind of counterintuitive, I feel like, for barbecue recipes of sloppy Joes in Pennsylvania. But it's a really great recipe. It's again very, very kid friendly. And that one and this one are 2 that are kind of part of the early years collection. So again, if you're considering, or maybe you want to just learn a little bit more about how to introduce some of these different cuts of beef to your youngster, there's a whole collection of recipes on the website. So this Primavera recipe is one of them, because again, the toddler could pick out the noodles, eat the small pieces of ground beef, maybe eat very, very small pieces of the zucchini. So this would be a good one that falls within that category. I'm trying to think of some others. There's a beef, it's like a cucumber appetizer that I've prepared a couple of times. Again, it's part of the Heart Healthy Diet collection. There's a beef and orzo recipe. And again, I usually do kind of defer to some of the Heart Healthy recipes. These are the ones that I'm working with and sharing with. So I personally am trying them as well, to be able to provide that recommendation back. So those are a couple that come to mind. Okay, we have maybe see some steam there, which is meaning that the beef is cooking. So again, the challenge of using a very small skillet, a stovetop skillet, since this is not the real kitchen in the house. So here, this is being just ground. Now you do want to again cook this. Sometimes people think like, oh, once it's browned, it's cooked through, but you want to make sure it has that 160-degree temperature. And you could use a kind of an instant read or a kind of like a temperature probe to check that out. This is especially important when you're grilling. Grilling season will hopefully soon be here. I mean, maybe some people grill year round, but to make sure you're not overcooking and undercooking beef, a thermometer is a really great tool. Okay. So again, this is a 93% lean ground beef. That's what I had. That was just my hand there. That's what I had easily available at the store when I shopped for these ingredients. So because it is one of those leaner cuts, I'm not going to drain a little bit of juice off. I think that'll actually just contribute to the overall kind of moisture in the recipe. So I know that, again, in my family, we love pasta dishes, but, we always seem to have so many extra dishes after you cook a pasta dish, because you have the strainer and, all those things that are large, and they kind of take up your sink, and you're left with a lot of a mess. But this one, again, I love because everything does cook right within a skillet. So the next step here, now this is bubbly. You can see that the ground beef is cooking. We're going to add in the zucchini. And these are 2 small zucchinis that I've just like chopped up. And then I'm going to add in our low sodium beef broth. This is just 1 can. And then the no salt added diced tomatoes. I love the petite diced tomatoes because then I feel like you get a little bit more in every bite. You kind of spread them around a little bit more than the larger pieces. And this recipe actually calls for no added salt. Again, it is that Heart Healthy certification, so you could always season to taste if that wasn't a concern for you. So you can see everything here. Now this will come up to a simmer. I don't know if we'll get it to that point. Let me see here. I'm also just going to season with some Italian seasoning or oregano. You could use some crushed red pepper flakes or black pepper. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I feel like you can't really go wrong with oregano in an Italian dish. So this Yeah, we'll just kind of toss this through. And usually when I make this, now I don't add the crushed red pepper flakes for my 5-year-old. So I actually do add those usually at the table. So I like a little heat. So that's a good addition to this as well. So we're just gonna imagine this has come up to a simmer, and then literally all you're doing is adding in about half of a box of like a shortcut pasta. So my store, for whatever reason, didn't have these like spiral rotini noodles. So I went with the shortcut penne noodles. You could use macaroni, you could use whatever you have available. So we're just going to dump this all in, half a box. Again, you could just kind of eyeball it, or just, you could measure out by cup, and then stir it all together. And I know you might be thinking, how on earth is this going to cook? But we're going to cover this up with a lid. So make sure that you choose a skillet of some kind, or a cooking device here that has the pot or a lid, I'm sorry, to cover. So this will then just stir it up there to mix it. And then we're going to cover this up. And then once it comes to boil, you leave it boil for about 5 to 10 minutes until the noodles have cooked and everything kind of has reached that al dente texture. And then you're going to have dinner. It's that quick and easy. The zucchini softens as this is cooking together with the kind of the simmering process here as that comes up to temperature again. So, they cook very nicely. They don't get mushy. And they have a really great texture, and the whole recipe kind of is infused then with that like beef broth, tomato flavor as it cooks. So it's kind of like a sauce that we're using there. But so that's kind of the recipe in full. We probably, I know we're nearing, it's about 5 of, so we're probably not going to see the finished dish, unfortunately, but I did see that Cassie dropped the recipe link in there, so you can grab that yourself. Again, this one that's pretty forgiving. You might be able to make it tonight at home because you have all the ingredients. It's really quick and easy, and you saw how quickly it came together here. So this will cook for about 10 minutes, and then we'll be ready to serve with a little bit of a side salad or some kind of other maybe vegetable on the side. And super easy. And again, that one dish, which I love. So any other questions or comments? Was anyone cooking along? I'm probably not, but if you were, let me know. I'd love to know that you were, but I'm guessing it was just kind of an early time of day to do so.
I'm not seeing any yeses on that, but
okay, that's okay. I mean, hopefully you'll try it. There on the last slide, which I know I'm not sharing my screen anymore, but you will get the slides tomorrow from Cassidy. It does include my email address, so you can always send me a personal email to bstark@pabeef.org if you would have questions or just want more information about anything, or if you would like to chat. I also then on one of the slides have a number of different resources for teachers. So these are within the pabeef.org website. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom on the main landing page, you'll see kind of at the bottom, there's a couple different menu options. There's a section for educators specifically there that includes some virtual farm tours that you could easily share with your class. There's a coloring book. There's some other kind of like classroom application types of materials and things that hopefully will be helpful to you there as well, so that you'll see in the slide deck that Cassie will share tomorrow. And then again, Team Beef, if you have any questions, you can just go right to the pabeef.org website. There's a section devoted to Team Beef where you learn a little bit more. And again, you can always email me with some questions or just inquire. But there's no cost to it. It's just kind of a different community to join if you're a runner, or if you are a biker, or maybe you do obstacle course based races like Spartan races. We do reimburse for up to $100 for those races, approved races by us. They have to be in PA, but maybe it would be something of interest. So just let me know.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Just checking. Okay. Well, with that, we do have the post-test link in the chat box, and please be on the lookout for information tomorrow. And thank you so much, Beth, for joining us, and thank you everyone else.
Yeah, thank you again, Cassidy. I mean, these presentations are great. I love to engage. It's kind of a bummer not to see anyone. So hopefully we were able to get some good information. You enjoyed the content. And again, please reach out if you would love to have any additional questions answered, or if you would just like to have a conversation. I welcome that for sure. So have a good evening. If you're again in PA, and get out and enjoy that beautiful 40-ish degree weather that feels like spring. And yeah, enjoy your evening.